Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. And if it's your first time here, I'm Janetta, an author who loves to draw. On my channel, I focus on combining storytelling with art. If that's something you're interested in, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let's get to it. Chapter 17. Dante stared at Ling as they arrived at the office. The car ride over was unexpectedly silent. He replayed the interaction between Brooklyn and Lang, shaking his head. Dante said nothing until they entered her office and closed the door. Lang, what in the hell has gotten into you? I know I threw you for a loop by bringing Brooklyn, but your reaction was out of line and unprofessional. Yes, you should have thrown me the what the hell look, but... Dante, I'm sorry. Lang shoved her hands in her back pockets as she rested against the wall. Brooklyn should have not been privy to any of that information, especially considering what she does. If she sees the news and connects her acquisition case to our incident today, we may have a bigger problem on our hand. Dante paced the office. He stopped in front of Lang. If you can't handle this case, I need to know now. The case has me on edge. Lang took her hands out of her pocket, pushed herself away from the wall, and walked over to the file cabinet. Dante crossed his arms, watching her as she searched through the files. Yeah, but an outburst like the one you had with Brooklyn would get us killed. You told her a rogue cop is apparently killing people. You told her about our client's daughter? Come on. If you need my head in the game, I need yours in the game too. You're right. Let's break this case down because we need to figure out if Megan in fact needs saving. Lang pulled out a stack of files. Or is she part of the problem? He grabbed some of the files from her and sat at the desk. She followed suit. They were in for a long day. Brooklyn was fuming. She didn't know why she let Ling get under her skin. Dante wasn't officially her man, so why was she tripping? It wasn't like Hunter wasn't at her place when Dante picked her up. She had a big meeting tomorrow morning to review the acquisition. Her boss was notorious for moving meetings up. Brooklyn figured she'd put a few hours of work in before she headed to Tyson's Corner to meet the girls at the mall. Maybe it would help her to take her mind off of Dante and Lang. She decided to review the last few files that she had recently received from Bevick. She hadn't had a chance to look at them because she accidentally left them locked up at home. Brooklyn grabbed her specialty console table and pulled it away from the wall. It was designed to become her desk and safely house her work files. She unlocked her file cabinet and pulled out her laptop and files. After working a couple of hours, she decided it was a wrap. She put her laptop and files in her work bag, never noticing that she had left one of the files in her desk. She locked up the cabinet, slid the console table back against the wall, and rolled the chair back into her room. Her cell phone rang and she grabbed it off the console table. She smiled when she saw Hunter's name on the screen. Hey, sexy. What took you so long to call me? Hunter laughed. I thought you were all caught up in your ex. Sometimes a person needs to accept that there's a reason things didn't work out the first time. Brooklyn stated as she locked her work bag in the storage closet in the back room. It was a habit she started when the super let plumber in to fix her sink while she was out. She had found that files she left in her work bag were on her coffee table. Gratefully, her laptop wasn't stolen. Brooklyn made it a point to lock up her work bag anytime she wasn't using it. It had been embarrassing to send her privacy team the email that confidential documents may have been exposed to the public. What's the rest of your day look like? Hunter asked. I think I'm going to hit the mall, then maybe catch a movie. It has to be an early night. I'm back to the grind tomorrow. She sat on the couch and put on the gym shoes she'd taken off earlier. How about when you're done with your shopping, I'll meet you for movies and dinner? Hunter inquired. Brooklyn grabbed her purse and keys. I would love to, but... Hunter supplied the lingering word. But I'm meeting Alexis and LaShawn. I don't know if you're up for an evening of dinner and movie with them. Brooklyn laughed, imagining the foolery that having Hunter with her at the movie would bring on. Is going to the movies with them worse than partying with them? Hunter asked in a tone that sounded as he was wondering if the no had more to do with her ex than her friends. Hopefully not. Hey, I'm heading to the mall now. If I don't get a text or call to confirm that they're going, I'll call you for dinner and a movie. Brooklyn walked down the stairs, not noticing the guy across the street staring at her intensely. Sure, Hunter responded. Well, I've arrived at my destination. I'll holler at you later. Brooklyn slid into her car and switched to her hands-free set. Where are you going that you can't talk to me till I get to the mall? I'm grocery shopping for the week, Hunter ignored her laughter, saying, BK, I do keep my place full of food. I'm sorry, Mr. Always Eating Out, she continued laughing. He kept her entertained with colorful conversation on her drive until her other line beat. Hey, Alexis is on my other line. If they flake on me, expect a call back. Okay, but don't let them get you into too much trouble, Hunter stated before Brooklyn clicked over. Brooklyn was kind of hoping that Alexis and LaShawn would cancel so she could hang out with Hunter. He brightened her day and kept her smiling long after they parted ways. She hated that Dante still had his hooks in her heart. Brooklyn, if you're busy, call me back, Alexis stated as if she didn't think Brooklyn was listening. No, I'm almost at the mall. I just got distracted by a pocket of traffic. Brooklyn maneuvered through the traffic into the lane that led to the mall parking lot. Sorry, she apologized and focused on the conversation. I was just saying that we'll meet you by our favorite store in about 30. We're running late. Well, I'm here already. She stated she put on her blinker to grab the spot of the car just pulling out. I'll walk around till you guys get here. Text me when you park so I know to go to the meeting spot. Brooklyn parked her car. As she strolled around the mall, she didn't know if it was the incident in the car earlier with Dante and his partner that had her nervous, but she could have sworn someone was following her. She had been into co-ed stores, so she went to a couple of women's stores. If he didn't come in, he might still be somewhere lingering outside when she exited the store. She wondered if it was Dante's doing. He claimed he didn't want to put her in any danger, but she was being difficult. She should have caught the damn bus home or called Hunter to come get her. She nearly jumped out of her skin when someone touched her on her shoulder. Brooklyn, are you okay? Alexis moved her hand. Alexis, girl, you can't be rolling up on me like that. Brooklyn had been so busy watching for the guy that she hadn't noticed them coming up. I thought you were supposed to text me. We did, LaShawn interjected. Where's your phone, Misty? Brooklyn reached into her purse, pulled out her phone, and saw the text. I guess it's a good thing we saw you. I'm looking forward to discussing who's got you all distracted. Alexis smiled, wrapping her arm around Brooklyn as they began walking. Brooklyn glanced out the corner of her eye to see her shadow was moving with them. Megan packed everything in her backpack. She looked at the gun in her purse. The fact that she didn't have anything to silence the shot made things complicated. Now she wished they had got one room so she could at least try to muffle the shot with a pillow, shooting Aaron while he was asleep. Her mind couldn't conceive of a way to enter his room, get a pillow, and shoot him. Every scenario that ran through her mind did not play out well for her. Megan decided she would kill him at one of the secluded rest stops along the way. She went down the stairs and knocked on Aaron's door, but got no answer. Glancing around the parking lot, she didn't see the car. Megan went into the office in search of the clerk. She walked to the counter and smiled. Hey, I wanted to know if the guy in room 12 checked out. He must have because the key is back. Hold on, I just got here. Let me find out from Fred when he checked out. He looked her up and down before heading to the back. Megan didn't have a good feeling about this. Normally, Aaron would text her if he was making a run or was going to be out for a while. She checked her phone again. There was no text and no missing call. The clerk called from the back. Miss, what is your room number? 24, she impatiently tapped on the counter. She heard an okay, then silence. A few minutes later, he re-entered the room. He only had one room, Fred stated. He left last night, shortly after getting his lady friend settled in. He did mention that you would be checking out this morning. Are you checking out now or later? Megan played with the key to the room. No, I'll be checking out in about 30 minutes. She exited the office calmly, but as soon as she was out of sight of the office, she did a quick trot to her room. She threw her bag on the bed, quickly unzipped it, and pulled out her laptop. She flipped it open and turned it on, then called her husband while it powered up. "We have a problem," Megan stated as she sat on the bed, logging into the computer. "What happened?" he asked. "He's in the wind," she replied, pulling up the information she was looking for. "Did you track him?" "I'm trying to now, but so far it's a no-go." Megan continued to peck away at the laptop keys. "Look, get out of there. We have to accelerate our plan, but I don't want the big reveal to happen until we hit our target date. Now that the file is in the wind, as well as Tuck's little errand boy, it's imperative, especially since Ryan is still off the radar." "They didn't find the file in Brooklyn's office?" Megan continued to pull up various programs attempting to track Erin. "No, but they say she tends to bring files home. We're going to attempt to check the files that she took home later." She began closing out her programs. "Well, let me know if I should stick around to help. Let's keep you out of their way for now. If we need to send you in, we will. Just get to the meetup point." Megan was so frustrated that things were starting to fall apart when they had just begun to come together so beautifully. "Are you sure you don't want me to reconnect with Ryan and find the location of the vault?" "No, go to the meeting place. Once we hit our target date and this situation is behind us, we can find Tuck's partner in crime and find the location. And once we do, we can be together and without worry that someone will rip our lives apart." "Okay, I love the sound of that. It's going to take me a little longer to make it there, but I'm on my way." Megan shook her head as she slammed her laptop closed. Finding a motel without surveillance cameras was supposed to have worked in her favor, not against her. Now she didn't know exactly what time Aaron left or which way he was heading. "Damn," she thought to herself. "Clearly he saw this coming, but I didn't." Chapter 18. Alec put the construction plans away that he'd been reviewing when Megan called. He logged into his computer, sending an email to get an update on the progress of the construction project. Tuck had made a mistake digging into Alec's past and threatening to expose him. Alec had waited too long to get this plan in place to allow some greedy lowlife to ruin it. Dante and Lang would pay for what they'd done to him, too. Once he executed his plan, not only would he get his revenge, but he would stop living his life in the shadows and be with the woman he loved. Brooklyn grabbed her work bag and headed out to her favorite morning coffee shop before work. She mentally replayed her weekend. Dante hadn't called her since he dropped her off after their aborted brunch, and that thought bothered her. She texted him as she waited for her coffee. He was a grown man that could take care of himself, but she couldn't help it. She always worried about him when he was traveling. Now that she knew exactly what he did for a living, it was worse. Brooklyn took her coffee and headed back to her car. She noticed a familiar black sedan. She wondered if it was Hunter that made her paranoid or Dante. When she arrived at work, the energy in the building was different, but she couldn't put her finger on what it was. She slid her badge through the turnstile to get to the area with the elevators. Lifting her cup of coffee, she said hi to the security as she entered the crowded elevator bay and started planning her day as she waited. When it came, she got in and was sandwiched between a heavyset man burdened with 2 boxes of donuts, a briefcase, and a rolling suitcase. As she reached around him to punch the button for her floor, she caught a glimpse of a man that reminded her of the guy in the mall. She couldn't be sure because the door closed too quickly. Her cell phone beeped as a text came through. She adjusted her bag to grab her phone. Across the screen came, "Sorry, beautiful, for not getting back to you sooner. I'm fine. I'm glad to see you're still talking to me." Brooklyn replied, "Not really. Just wanted to make sure you were still in the land of the living." She squeezed past people, careful not to spill her coffee as she exited the elevator. The receptionist was on the phone when Brooklyn entered the office. Brooklyn waved hello and walked past her. Hearing her ask the person on the phone to hold. "Brooklyn, wait." When Brooklyn turned around, the receptionist was standing and motioning her back to the desk. "Mr. Haskins would like to see you in his office. There's been an incident." "Should I be worried?" Brooklyn walked back to the desk. "Mr. Haskins will have to explain." The receptionist glanced down at her phone. "He's off the line. You can go in." "Thanks." Brooklyn tossed the remainder of her coffee in the trash bin at the end of the desk, then silenced her phone before placing it in her purse. She gave a slight knock before entering the office. Mr. Haskins looked up. "Brooklyn, glad you made it in." He stood, motioning to the guest chair as he went to close the door. "All your meetings for today have been canceled." "Is there a problem I should be aware of?" Brooklyn felt dread filling her chest as he returned to his seat. She set her bag down next to her chair. He leaned forward on his forearms, looking at her intensely. "There was a break-in last night. Several offices have been hit, yours being one of them. We're assuming they were looking for files. I need you to spend the morning listing the files that you are working on. We need a clear idea of what client's information has been compromised." "We don't need to cancel any meetings for that. I keep a detailed log of all my projects and tasks in my laptop to make sure I don't drop the ball. All I need to do is log in and print the information out for you." Brooklyn grabbed her work bag, sitting in her lap. She fought not to laugh as relief permeated her being. She was glad she wasn't being reprimanded or fired. "Well, the police report has been filed. However, I still need you to work in one of the remote offices. Protocol requires that our own security do an investigation." He nodded. He stood and Brooklyn followed suit. "Not a problem." She put her bag on her shoulder. He glanced down at her bag. "I'm very relieved that you took the laptop home. Your office was hit the worst. It looked like a tornado went through there." "So I'm not allowed to grab anything out of there?" Brooklyn walked with him to the door. "Probably not until this afternoon, which is why we'll keep your day clear. I don't know how the lack of access to your office will affect you." He opened the door. "Okay, I'll head to the remote office to print that list for you and figure out how to proceed with my day." Brooklyn exited his office and headed straight to the receptionist's desk to find out what other offices had been broken into. From what the receptionist knew, it was Brooklyn's office and the offices on either side of it. After finding out which remote office was available, she strolled past her office on the way there. It was crazy. The two offices next to her had a few papers and files on the floor, but the back cabinets were intact. Her office, on the other hand, was completely ransacked. Every file cabinet was open. All her file boxes were open. The files scattered on the floor. She shook her head and continued on to her temporary spot. Despite not having access to certain files, Brooklyn's morning flew by. It wasn't until she heard a knock on the door that she realized it was lunchtime. Denise peeked in. "Are you working through lunch again?" Brooklyn glanced at the time on her computer. "No, I'm planning to run out in about 5 and grab something." "Cool. Are you going to your favorite spot?" Denise asked as she stepped into the office. "Yep." Brooklyn started logging out of her computer. "Could you pick me up at number 8? I took an early lunch to go to an appointment. I just got back and I didn't have time to grab anything to eat while I was out. It's been a crazy day." Denise pulled out money and set it on the desk. "No problem." Brooklyn locked down the laptop and grabbed her purse. "I shouldn't be too long. I'm trying to make it an early night because I have dinner planned." She smiled as they walked out the room. Brooklyn sat in the seated area of the gallery place, enjoying her lunch, then grabbed a frozen yogurt before ordering Denise's food. She took the shortcut between the buildings to grab Denise's food on G and 7. The walk never bothered her before, but today was different. She heard footsteps behind her. She glanced back to make sure it wasn't the guy from the mall. A few homeless people gathered on the walkway. If it wasn't for the fact that the brick driveway was for the cars using the garage, she would have walked on it instead of the slender walkway. Before she could get a good look at him, the man that seemed to be tailing her stopped, pulled out a cigarette, and leaned on the wall a few feet from the homeless people. Brooklyn put some pep in her step to catch up with the group of ladies walking ahead until she made it out to the street. Once Brooklyn grabbed Denise's food, she decided to take the long way back. Heading towards the corner, she noticed the guy that stopped for a smoke had moved. She told herself she was just being paranoid until she noticed that he was behind her as she made her way towards G and 9th. It suddenly dawned on her that maybe Dante was behind her shadow. She pulled out her phone and called Dante. "What's up, Brooke?" Dante asked, his voice registering surprise. "Is it necessary to have me followed?" Brooklyn glanced back to see if the guy was still trailing her. Followed? Don't pretend that you aren't having me followed. I get the point. Next time you say a situation is dangerous, I'll believe you. She noticed that her shadow was on the move. Brooklyn, sweetie, I'm not having you followed. When did you notice someone following you? His voice was filled with concern. Brooklyn explained everything that happened, from the mall to the office to just now. Maybe I'm just being paranoid after all that just happened. She informed him about the break-in at work. Look, if you're wrong, we can laugh about it later. But if you're right, you have a serious situation on your hands. Can you describe him? Brooklyn leaned on the outside of the building next door to her office building, watching her shadow pass her and cross the street. I'm just being a bit of a drama queen. He kept walking. If you think you're being followed, don't go home, Dante cautioned. Call me and I'll meet you some. Brooklyn cut him off. Don't worry about that. I have dinner plans. If I'm followed to the restaurant, then I'll be in good hands. She stood and headed towards the office building. Text me after your date with Hunter and let me know you made it without any incidents. Dante's voice became increasingly stern, with a slight hint of jealousy as he spoke. I will. I'm back at work. I have to go, she replied as she re-entered her building. Seriously, Brooklyn, text me or better yet, call me. Otherwise, I'll be banging on your door starting at 10 p.m., Dante stated in a voice that conveyed how serious he was. I'll text you, I promise. Bye, Dante. She hung up. As people milled about her, Brooklyn kept looking to see the face that had been following her. She relaxed when she didn't see any familiar faces besides the ones she was accustomed to seeing every day. The man following Brooklyn stood, leaving the newspaper behind on the bench as she entered the building. Walking across the street from the building, he headed for his car. Once in the car, he made a call. He continued to watch people entering and exiting the building. When the call connected, he stated, I think she knows I'm following her. That's fine, Gus replied. Did she come in with anything other than her purse? Yes, coffee in a computer bag. He pulled out another cigarette and lit it up. Tell your replacement to discreetly steal the files out of her bag. If he can't do that, just snatch the whole damn thing. Hope you enjoyed today's story. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be and stay blessed.